One of the things that I was impressed with was the way it went through the water when I started getting into square waves in the stream. How do you achieve that?
I think there's two real factors. One is the entry. The Outbound has a pretty fine entry, and then also the sections of the Outbound, and the sections not just forward but all the way aft are highly V'd. So it's a combination of fine entry that lets you go through a chop and through a wave, and those V'd sections in the underbody that give you a soft landing and also increase the speed of the boat, particularly reaching.
When I sailed the boat up from Miami to Lauderdale, we started getting out into the stream, and we were hard on the breeze, and started bouncing into some of the waves at the edge of the stream, and we were heeled over. The rail was pretty close to the water, and it was very nice. It was very comfortable, very secure, and as you say, the motion was very easy.
I think part of that is the hull form, but weight distribution is really critical for that. And I think unfortunately, because what generally tends to sell boats at boat shows is how spacious and roomy does the interior feel, etc. Some of the manufacturers, and I don't want to name names, tend to sacrifice the performance of the boat to make something that looks a little flashier and more roomy, etc. at the boat show. The structure for the Outbound, it's extremely robust, I'll put it that way, but it's also optimized. In cruising boats, keeping the absolute lightest structure is not the paramount concern. What you're really trying to achieve is a structure that's going to be the most forgiving and long-lasting. But at the same time, there's two approaches that you can take. One is the sort of seat-of-the-pants experiential approach, where you say, this is how it's been done in the past. Let's apply a safety factor of 12 and just, beat it to death. And then the other approach is, let's take a look at the actual sailing loads and optimize the structure so that we can, keep the boat stiff, extremely robust, without having to put a lot of extra weight into it. Because what that does is allows you to put that extra weight in ballast, and just achieve better performance for the same displacement.
I noticed she's got a huge rig, though she doesn't seem to get tipped over too much by it. After
about 16 knots of true wind speed, this particular rig you would start to reef, and so that would be kind of your cutoff point. And the benefit that you get from that is really good performance in light air. So,
when you're making passages, that it seems, from my experience and from the experience of others, that an increase in speed in when the breeze is up doesn't buy you as much of an increase in or decrease in passage times as much as having good light air performance.
Exactly, because it's the difference between sailing or motoring. And you always are going to get more power from the rig. So, in 6 or 8 knots of breeze, where your friends are motoring, you're sailing. And you're sailing as fast as they are, and it's quiet.
And you're sailing, which is why you bought a sailboat in the first place.
Exactly. And then, hull number 1 is set up with a cutter rig, so you can shorten sail pretty effectively.
We haven't talked about the one thing that's immediately striking about the boat, and that is the looks.
If you're in your dinghy and you just made port, you're at a little anchorage, you drop the hook somewhere, and you're going in to get a bite to eat or something like that. If you don't turn around and admire your boat on the way out, then there's something wrong. It may work well, and things that work well tend to look good, but why not have something that looks good and works well?